In Mr. Darcy's Bite by Mary Simonson, Elizabeth Bennet is unable to sleep after Mr. Darcy's revelation. She escapes outside, hoping the cool night air will clear her head. Although her eyes were closed tightly, Lizzie had a feeling that she was being watched. And when she looked up, she saw a shadow moving along the tree line, and then a pair of gray-green eyes. Slowly, the animal crept closer, one studied step at a time, so as not to frighten her. But she wasn't frightened. She was mesmerized. The form coming toward her was a wolf, a magnificent animal with a lustrous black coat and a well-muscled form. Mr. Darcy had come calling. She could not take her eyes off of him. But then she heard laughter coming from the stables, and fearing one of the grooms might walk their way, she stood up and tried to shoo him away. "Go! You should not be here! Run away!" She moved her hands in an attempt to get him to move in the direction of the woods, and then she saw a second pair of eyes. Nell was nearby in case she was needed, but from her uneasy movements, Lizzie knew that Mr. Darcy's friend was uncomfortable with him being so near the manor house. "Nell has more sense than you do. Please, go now. You might be discovered." But the wolf continued toward her, and without thinking, she extended her hand, palm up, to let him know it was safe for him to come to her. He closed the short distance between them, and while she was thinking what she should do, he pushed her with his nose, and pushed her again, so that she would be forced to take a step back toward the French doors, and then again, and again. He wanted her to go inside the house. "You may push me all you want, Mr. Darcy, but I will go in the house when I am ready, and not before." Then he nudged her again. "Stop that! You are not going to force me to do something I do not want to do." But he ignored her complaint and continued pushing her with his nose until he had her backed up against the doors. "You are not a werewolf at all. You are a stubborn mule, or worse, a bully who's used to having his own way. Don't you have some rabbits to chase?" But then Lizzie looked around, and she realized that with the light of the full moon shining down on the landscape, he was completely exposed. And if anyone were to walk between the house and the stables, they would see him. Nell confirmed this by inching closer to the manor, while making whimpering sounds to warn Darcy that he had gone too far and needed to retreat. "All right," Lizzie said, exasperated. "I will go into the house once I see you and Nell safely back in the woods." Darcy ran circles around her to show his approval for her decision before sprinting back to Nell. But then he came to an abrupt halt, turned around, and ran towards her at full speed. Just before he reached the terrace, he leapt so high in the air he was almost vertical. And then he made a dash for the tree line. "I don't believe this," Lizzie said, with her mouth hanging open at the spectacle she had just witnessed. "I'm being courted by a werewolf." We can see that even in his lapine form, Mr. Darcy is used to having his orders obeyed, and Elizabeth is still impertinent. Will she be able to look past his condition and give him her heart? In order to find out, grab a copy of Mr. Darcy's Bite.